Hello everybody and welcome to race number 13 for the MSCA Casey's Cup Series. We are here at Chicagoland. We had a very interesting race at the for the American Ethanol Truck Series. We had a repeat winner here with Nick Pericles taking the victory. Will we see something like that here again? We may not know, but we will have to watch the race to make sure we can find out. On the pole will be the number 98 of Greg Shivers for Gen Tech Racing. And that team has actually been on a roll recently as we take the green flag, as Martin Grayson also to his outside. Those two Toyota Camrys, definitely the quickest in practice and definitely two of the quickest cars in qualifying. As you can see though, Aaron Reese, I'm sorry, that's James Austin in the number 29. Looking to the inside, he's got Anelie Wittmer, the current points leader, to his rear. And he wants to make this race his own. As now he's taken to the inside of the 98 of Greg Shivers. Shivers looking to try and take that lead outright, and he's going to look like he's going to do it. Martin Grayson looks to be moving pretty fast behind or beside the 29. However, he's not able to clear the 29 entering into turn 1. However, Greg Shivers has pulled out to a pretty decent lead right now. That could be something that we could see as either a blessing or a curse, depending on what happens. But it looks like the 29 of James Austin has just passed the number 86 of Martin Grayson. Now we look back, kind of not too far back, the number 72 of Andrea Martinez, currently running up in the top 5. I believe in 4th right now. As we can see, James Austin has made the pass for the lead. Anelie Wittmer now going for 2nd. But Andrea Martinez has kind of surprised us. That team has not really been known for having as fast of speed as she's been able to show. And she's been the only driver that has actually put out any decent speed as of recent. Her teammates Dennis Coetzee and I believe that was actually James Austin. I'm blanking on some of the drivers' names, but the number 27 and the number 87, those two cars have not had a lot of success in recent years. And Trace Howard is the driver of the number 27, and I was blanking on his name. But as we go back up, James Austin getting some... Looks like Anelie Wittmer's trying to make a move on the entrance of turn 1, but she just cannot seem to make it, as that 29 is definitely fast. He's a former champion in this series. Anelie Wittmer finished, I believe, right behind Haruma Kakana in the number 3 for Rookie of the Year. So she had a very good season last year, and this BMW team is definitely putting on a clinic right now, as she has currently held the points lead pretty much since the start of the season. It was her, Ricky Dixon, and Dave Witt who were just dominating the front of the field. Now Ricky Dixon and Dave Witt have not really seen a lot of the front, but Anelie Wittmer staying right up there. You can see her onboard, the number 112 of Anelie Wittmer, actually has said that she will not have the same car, she will have the same number, but she will not keep the same sponsors, as Mountain Dew has decided to come on to this team, knowing how good that this team is, and they are going to have a pretty decent lineup of paint schemes for this number 112 car. And that's a definite for sure, as Anelie Wittmer continues to trail the number 29 of James Austin. She has had a pretty decent race, though, so far. As we look back, in 23rd place, the number 16 of Alan Eberhard. He's had a pretty up and down season. Last week he did a pretty good job at Michigan. This week, though, he's having a few issues, being mired back in 23rd right now. You can see in front of him, that was Lucas Tran, who's also considered a very fast driver, currently sitting in, I believe, 21st right now. But Alan Eberhard is planning to run the final race of the Copperhead Amateur Series season for this team of Farfan Motorsports, as they've really kind of taken to this to the stock car scene pretty heavily, and Alan Eberhard has definitely said that he wanted to return back to the CAS, and he gets his chance. One of the drivers whom we actually saw almost win the championship last season was the 34 of Jerome Kristen. However, he has dropped off tremendously this season. However, not doing too bad right now, I believe he's in 14th at the moment, battling with the number 59 of Jason Haynes for Fitzwater Australia Racing. But that 34 team has definitely been running fairly well this race, although I can't say the same for the rest of his season. And considering he was one of the drivers who had held the points lead last year in this same car, it can tell how much he's kind of fallen behind the rest of the field. And he has actually said that he will not return to the season next year, to the series next year. So the 34 team is definitely looking for options as far as next year and what they're going to do. James Austin still leading this race here in lap number 43, I believe. And he's had a pretty decent lead coming up to this race. He's pretty much had, I believe, half of the laps led so far. As you can see, Greg Shivers now trying to make a move to the inside of Anelie Wittmer. And that's been a trouble spot for these drivers, as they saw what was going on in the truck race. They're thinking maybe we can do the same thing, but it's just been so much more trouble to try and get to the lead or get anything or get by anybody on this track. And I think what we're going to see coming into the end of the race could be something similar to what we saw in the truck race, where there could be a shuffle for position, and eventually the leaders just start trading back and forth, and one guy will end up coming out victorious. We were talking about Dave Witt earlier being one of those original dominating drivers. Now he's back towards 9th position, fighting with Andrea Martinez, but right behind him is last year's champion Norm Mantiel. And Mantiel has not actually had a very good season comparative to last year. You could say that he's kind of fallen off, but he has had some sponsorship getting onto that team, and he won the championship unsponsored. So that gives you some insight as to how that 44 ran last season. And currently, right now, running in, I believe, 10th position still, trying to hold off a pretty big charge from a bunch of different cars. It looks like Donnie Johnson in the 02 and the 15 of Aaron Reese, who has won, I believe, 2 races so far. And we're going to look at Martin Grayson as we're coming down. He's slowing down, entering into turn 4, and that means pit stops are going to be coming up, as we have had no cautions. Similar to the truck race, there's been very few cautions going on, and Martin Grayson will be the first driver down pit lane. Anelie Wittmer will be the second driver to drop down to pit lane from second place. And actually, Greg Shivers is going to actually pull a maneuver on her, and he will basically leapfrog her for second place, as James Austin in the number 29 is going to be your last driver out of that lead pack to pull down into pit lane. And this lead pack is, if you noticed, you never saw anyone behind him, but Martin Grayson, a huge jump on the rest of the field. I believe that early pit stop really helped the 86 team, as he has flied past the number 29 of James Austin, and has now gained such a lead that we can't even see the rest of the leaders back there. And James Austin won last race at Michigan, and so could we see a repeat winner to get his 3rd win of the season? To be remember back, he actually did win another race. That was Indianapolis Raceway Park in the number 86 car. So Martin Grayson right now looking to be like he could win another championship in that number 86 Toyota. So Martin Grayson, definitely one of those drivers we are looking out for now, considering that he is on his way to his 3rd win possibly if the leaders can't catch back up. And this is where Greg Shivers is. You can't even see where Grayson is comparative. And these drivers have really lost a lot of ground to the 86 car. So the 86 of Martin Grayson definitely has pulled out to a massive lead over his teammate Greg Shivers, Anelie Wittmer, and the number 29 of James Austin. So definitely something that we are quite surprised about. And now we're looking at the back view of Martin Grayson's car. This is a few laps. This is on lap 79 heading into lap 80. And that's how long. Be granted, pit stops were in like the mid-60s of the laps, and he has been that far away from the leaders, and this is when they are starting to catch him. So he almost took 20 laps of a lead in comparison. And since that group has been basically single file, they've been able to draft off of each other, get some speed up, actually run faster than the 86 has been, since he's been pretty much all alone. And that's something that you really never really see too much often. However, one of the drivers whom we referred to about earlier in the race, Lucas Tran, he was in, I believe, 21st position last time we saw him, and now he's in the 10th spot. You can see that Dodge behind him. That is the number 6 of Dave Wilson. That is not Alan Eberhard, as Alan Eberhard is running the Mountain Dew car. But Lucas Tran in the number 21 definitely has gained a lot since the beginning, or since we last talked about him. And DW Motorsports is actually happy with their operation right now. Lucas Tran, I believe. Oh, we saw a car on the inside lane. That is the 37 of Hergil Arvin Alonso. Hergil Arvin Alonso looks like he has blown up his engine, and that's a pretty big hit to that Bankicles team, as they've really lost a lot as far as sponsorship and just in general. He's going to end up pulling that car back around into pit lane and able to get that thing off the track, so we will stay green. However, James Austin has gotten by Anelie Wittmer up at the front of the field. We are on lap 95 here, and the 29 of James Austin is trailing that Gentech racing car of Greg Shivers. And Shivers, who was one of the drivers who ran with Bill Cox, and I believe Steve Hickman was on that team, although I cannot be sure. Greg Shivers was one of those drivers who ran in the American Ethanol Truck Series earlier in his career, and this is his second season in the Casey's Cup Series, and right now showing everyone that he can drive both a race car and a race truck. So we're seeing pretty much how these teams have been stacking out lately. 29 at James Austin, still stock in the back end of that 98 car though, and they have gotten right up to the back bumper of the 86 car, but Martin Grayson has still been able to keep at least a car length lead over the 98 of Greg Shivers, and either that's Shivers just not putting everything on the table, or the 86 is just that much faster than the rest of the field, and he's able to kind of control the pace. But James Austin looking to the inside of Greg Shivers now, and that's going to allow Anelie Wittmer to try and pull back into the race, but he's not going to be able to do it as we come down to the final few laps of this race. It has been pretty much single file since we last saw it. It's been Grayson, Shivers, Austin, and Wittmer is how this has been shaking out. And it's kind of a shame, especially for James Austin. You led so many laps of this race, and then all of a sudden for it to just go away from you just like that in the pit stop is something that he's got to be kicking himself for. And as well as this crew, as Martin Grayson has taken the white flag coming around turn number 2. I don't think anyone has anything for him, as the 29 maybe will try to take over second place, doesn't make a move. Looks like this is going to be it. Martin Grayson in the number 86 car coming off of turn number 4, and will take the checkered flag for his 3rd win of the season and his 2nd win in a row so far. So Martin Grayson starting his domination late in this season, and this could be the perfect time for that, as he's doing his burnouts on the front stretch. And that's going to do it for the Casey's Cup Series. A pretty stalled out race towards the end there. Not really much could have been done, but not really much could be done. We'll see you at Iowa under the lights in the next race.